Abuja, thank you so much for staying tuned into your passionate, trustworthy, and conversational radio 95.1 Nigeria Info. I hope your weekday, midday, how would I put it? It's midweek, more like. It's going great. It's Wednesday, and I hope that the week is looking good, that you're checking all the right boxes and having, well, I won't say great time, but I feel like you're going to say no, what is great about the time in Nigeria at the moment. It's all good. I would leave it at that. But just to ensure that you're fine and you're ready to go through the next 4 hours with me, because hard fast can be a tad intense as we look at some of the big stories driving conversation. And I say intense because Niger matter is always very hard. So if you've had lunch, you're hydrated and you're ready, we're ready. My guest is in the studio already. And there was a lot of conversation even before we came into the studio. We'll take it up from there. I've got Dr. Majeed Dahiru with me in the studio. Dr. Majeed, good afternoon.
You're
Delighted to have you here. I greet you too. I greet you too.
Libation at your shrine.
All right, people, let's get started looking at some of the big stories of today. Well, starting off on a very sad note, the confirmed death of the Chief of Army Staff, Taoreed Lagbaja, at 56. He died yesterday in Lagos, and has been battling perhaps that illness for a bit. I know there was so much secrecy around it, particularly when someone on social media broke the news that he had died, and he said, no, he's still alive, and the statement was it was hale and hearty, he's recuperating and all of that. But, well, it is what it is, and we commit his soul to God.
Yes, you know, when somebody is ill, there is always a bright chance that the person will survive.
Yeah.
And so when that news, that false information was disseminated by a US-based journalist that he was dead even 48 hours earlier, he was very much alive then. And of course, everybody was hopeful that he was going to respond to treatment and that he was going to bounce back. So, but unfortunately, we lost him yesterday. And it was announced by the president that we've lost the Chief of Army Staff, General Taoreed Lagbaja. For me, it is both, I would say, it's a national loss, it's a loss for the nation. But I also have a bit of, personal experience, a little bit way back, with General Lagbaja as a young officer then. And I've always known that somehow he will get to the peak of his career if given, the level playing ground and opportunity. He was what you can describe as a soldier and a commander's commander. He was very focused, he was very serious-minded, and he had the interest of his officers and men at heart. Lagbaja also was very committed to the war against terror. In fact, they recorded tremendous success so far. If you observe some of the flashpoints in Nigeria that used to be very, very, very topical appears to have been pacified right now.
Flashpoint during election or generally?
No, I mean in the banditry and terror theaters of conflict. If you look at Southern Kaduna, for example, for some time now, we've had peace and calm in that axis. If you look at even in the Northwest, the war is being taken to the bandits. It's no longer about negotiations. And the war against Boko Haram is still being sustained to the extent that we no longer hear of, the capacity on the part of the terrorists to inflict heavy casualties on our people anymore. So to that extent, you can see that there has been improvement.
Yeah.
He was very committed to the welfare of his staffs, of his officers and men, rather, to the extent that to augment the salary that was being paid to the rank and file particularly, they are concerned that, look, the rank and file, in the face of the current realities, their salaries may not take them home at the end of the month. And so what did Lagbaja and his colleagues, those that are managing the management staffs of the Nigerian Army, they came together and they decided to use the Army's own internal generated resources, revenue rather, to augment salaries for the rank and file. So there's what is called second alert in the Nigerian Army today, whereby after you receive your normal salary, it's a token, no matter how small it is paid in addition to what you've received from this other arrangement. And so that to show you a man who has utmost concern for the welfare of his men. It was also Lagbaja that increased the feeding allowance of soldiers from, I think, is it about 1,000 or so to 1,500. That is within the means that they can afford. So it tells you that this is somebody who is very concerned about welfare. And he was a team player too, a good listener. He worked very well with his colleagues, very well. He was not, he was just like a first among equal. He made himself like that. And we saw the synergy between him and other service chiefs. And so in a brief period he was Chief of Army Staff, I can assure that he recorded tremendous success. On one-on-one basis, I met him for the first time in 2001 when he was an instructor at the Nigerian Defense Academy. He was a major then. And he happens to be classmate with my elder brother. So I went to visit my elder brother one day. And then I saw that in the flat where they were living, all young captains and majors, Lagbaja was one of those living in the same flat with him. So Lagbaja then was a major. So they were all posted to NDA. Usually, if you know how the army works, there's a way they regiment each of the courses. So they serve somehow in same places spread across the country. So a number of course 39 people like him were at that time deployed to India as instructors or directing staffs. So he was an instructor in India. So we lived in the same flat. I actually lived with him in the same flat. So then we had also the current chief of operations, Army Quarters, General Sinjen, was also in the same flat. And one thing about Lagbaja then was, he was such a withdrawn person. He was an introvert by nature. And so, initially I didn't know he was a soldier. I didn't know. Until then I saw him in uniform, I'm like, oh, what? You mean he's actually one of you? One, he looked a bit younger, a little bit. He's always withdrawn. He's always in his room. If he's not reading, he's always occupied with himself in his room. And so, he rarely mixes up with people. He was very serious-minded. He goes to work in the morning, comes, very regimented lifestyle. So this one was a typical soldier who had no second address. So really, I was not surprised that he rose to the top of his career. And he was a fantastic gentleman. Real officer. When you hear that they are officers and gentlemen, Lagbaja was an officer and a gentleman as well. So we pray that God will rest his soul and grant him eternal rest in paradise. And also grant his young family. He left behind a wife and 2 children. The fortitude to bear the loss of, a great father that he was. But he lived a fulfilled life at the end of the day. For somebody who rose through the ranks to become not just an army general, but the chief of army staff in Nigeria, I think he lived a successful and fulfilled life. And I hope that his successors, will sustain the momentum he brought to bear on the war against terror and even surpass his record. And I also believe that the Nigerian government must find a way to also immortalize this great fallen hero of our country.
May he so rest in peace. I didn't know half of these things about him.
Yes,
and,
it was such.
you just know the man who was appointed and if he delivered on his job, but who knows what he was grappling with even when he had the assignment, and to deliver on it to this extent. And we just pray that God grant his soul rest.
I remember when his men mistakenly bombarded a procession, Kaduna procession.
Oh, yeah.
Lagbaja was in tears. You could see, in fact, the outrage immediately dissipated when they saw Lagbaja himself in tears. It was like, what have we done? We saw that level of remorse. He was there by their graveside. He was there in the community. And so we saw a different kind of army chief of staff who was both humane, who was tough against terrorists, who was hard against criminals, but at the end of the day was a perfect gentleman and an officer of the first class order.
Wow. He surely will be missed. May so rest in peace.
Amen.
Let's go on a very quick break. We'll be back with more still with 95.1 Nigeria Info.
Talk, news, and sports after this.
Hello. My name is Kimberly. I'm the host of Hard Facts, and I bring you the biggest stories driving conversation every weekday here on 95.1 Nigeria Info Hard Fact Show. I love to get your opinion and conjectures, but the facts you cannot dispute here on Hard Facts. Join me and let's talk.
Big stories Nigerians are talking about: the Chief of Army Staff, the late Chief of Army Staff, Tariq Lagbaja, who's been confirmed to have passed on by the president. And we just got to know a bit more about his side. That man in uniform that people know as the Chief of Army Staff was, first the person that he is, his identity, his family, his personality, and all, before, taking up this responsibility to serve Nigeria through the ranks, through his career. And we wish, his family, I want to believe the government will do the needful with them and ensure that he's, immortalized in the way that would remind us of befitting of him.
His service record to the nation.
Indeed. All right. Let's catch up with the United States of America, because they're talking about it. I mean, if you go on the trend, Barack is trending, Putin is trending, America is trending, Donald Trump, Kamala Harris. People can't stop talking about the election. It feels like we've been waiting for the 5th of November for a long time. And I remember listening to Barack. He says, don't worry, just calm down. It will take time to finish counting. Remember in 2020, it took time for us to count. So what. But the results came out so early. The minute Pennsylvania was called, everybody just knew, Donald. Fox was quick to even make that call and said Donald Trump is the 47th president of the United States of America. And I've seen all kinds of reactions to this. Those who are stunned and in shock, and those who are super excited and saying, yes, thank you, Donald Trump.
You start wondering, on what basis are people actually divided over this matter?
I spoke with a lot of people who I don't voted. There were people who said they voted Donald Trump. I was a little surprised, Donald, I thought you were going to play the gender card and say nothing like that. We're looking at the issues beyond all the rhetorics and the politicking on the surface. What do these people represent in terms of their party? Neither of them is perfect, really. But it came down to some of the issues that connected with Americans, those who decided, what we're going. And then if you're looking at, they were even analyzing Kamala Harris. She didn't outperform Joe Biden in terms of anything extra. So it felt like it was going to be Trump, and Trump emerged. But did you see this coming to a certain extent? I know we talked about it, but I'm not sure if it was crystal clear at any point that Donald was going to win.
No, I was not very clear on who was going to win the election. But one thing that I was always clear about was Donald Trump is a solid candidate anytime, any day for the president of America. And I've always seen what others didn't say in Donald Trump. Sometimes if you avoid watching too much of CNN, another liberal news channels out of America, and you dig deeper and you listen carefully to the person himself speaking, you'll be able to make sense of what others are making nonsense about. Trump is very focused on what he wants to do for America. And I've always said that if I were an American, I'll probably be a Republican and vote for Trump. Trump, right from 2016, was very clear. Trump is the one who understands what has gone wrong with America, economically, socially, and in terms of geopolitical winning influence on the global stage. He understood it clearly. Trump knew that China was going to overtake America as the largest economy until something is done to save American businesses at home. He knew. And so he identified China early in the day as a threat, as our threat economically.
Yeah.
He also knew that Russia was a threat militarily. He knew. And that under Obama, Russia was already outmaneuvering America in the Middle East. He knew this. But in that case, he tried to approach it through a pacifist, something like a detente that happened in the 70s, that eventually led to a close, close relationship between President Reagan and the leader of Soviet Union, then Gorbachev, which eventually led to the unraveling of Soviet Union and the demise of America's number one foe in the world. So for me, his approach to Putin was like drawing close your enemy and giving him the kiss of death. That was his approach. So I recognized that he wasn't just pandering to him, he wasn't just trying to make a fool of himself. No. He understands the power of such a foe and knows that the best way to do it is to draw the person close and sting or bite with a poisonous venom. So I correlate with what Reagan did in the 80s and what with Gorbachev and what he was trying to do with Putin. So I understood clearly what he was trying to achieve. But one thing is for sure, I knew that he loved America passionately. I also knew that the establishment politicians in America have become too comfortable as being professional politicians, that they've lost touch with realities in terms of the building blocks of economics and the understanding of how to arrange those building blocks. So, for instance, you have a Joe Biden who has been in politics since the 60s. He's been a senator since the 70s, since 1972 or so. You also have someone like Kamala Harris, who's always been in politics all through. Obama moved straight from the civil war, from the civil rights.
From district attorney, senate, and okay, well.
It's been incumbent. Obama moved from civil rights movement into politics and straight to White House. Now, this man was on the street. He's a businessman. He understands the challenges that businesses are facing in America, and by implication, the larger economy. And so he kept saying things that were relevant at the time, but people weren't paying attention. And let me tell you this: my first attraction to Donald Trump, what gave me what made me to pay attention to Donald Trump the first time was his stand on radical Islamist jihadism. At the time Trump came on board to control the president in 2016, Nigeria was really under the intense ravages of Boko Haram on one hand, and ISIS was ravaging the Middle East.
Yeah.
And it was going to make a landfall in America. Remember the shooting in the nightclub and all that. So Trump came out very hard and said, look, this thing people are doing, I'm going to ban every Muslim from coming to this country if it should take me to do that. He was criticized at the time. I said, no. There's some sense in what he's saying. He may not be able to understand the intricate relationship between the religion of Islam and Islamist jihadism that most of us like to live in denial of. So what is simply saying, whatever it is people are doing, we don't want people like this in our country. And I said, this is a shock therapy that might get the Muslim world to have a rethink. Because if more leaders of the West take Donald Trump's stand, there will be no escape for. And so he pledged to defeat it. And this is what he did. As it concerns Nigeria. Because I've seen that beyond any other thing, he kept all of his promises. He revamped America's economy. American economy performed best almost in half a century in terms of all the indices of growth, development, and prosperity. And when COVID struck the world, people forget this. But for Donald Trump, and I think we will still be struggling with COVID today. He was blamed for it unfairly. Trump was the first guy to say, look, this is a Chinese virus that we all need to shut down to contain. He was criticized. But Trump now said, okay, we can't shut down forever because of the economy on this hand, our bitter economy, and it is crumbling because of this shutdown. So we need a vaccine. We need a vaccine. Trump said he needs this vaccine to be developed within that year. He put down the money. The vaccine that we enjoy today was funded by Trump administration. Trump paid for the vaccine.
Solely him? I know there are a lot of investors, the Gates and the like, so...
Donald Trump paid for vaccine, For those who are screaming, Donald Trump. But the word didn't allow us to hear then. They didn't put it up like this. It was his vision and insistence. Even Anthony Fauci and others were saying it is not possible to have a vaccine within a year. It will take 1 year of production and then year of testing. Blah, blah. So people are dying. Donald Trump, activated everything possible to bring it under control. Let me not tell you what he did again. At the time, it was called like chloroquine had some mitigating effect against. Trump announced to the world, if you get chloroquine, please take it.
I remember then when there was a lot of outrage, like who gives you the right to make such statements?
This because there's a people just simply hated this man. Anything good he said was turned against him. Look,
perhaps it's the way he says it. It's not like the very properly refined politician who knows to speak.
You look beyond what the person says to what he's saying. I don't care about how he says it. Truly,
but how he says it matters as a world leader.
It is how it was presented in the liberal media. For a man to say, look, chloroquine is what is being used to treat this thing. I have taken it myself. Please, grab as much. People are dying like lizards. And when he said, look, take out of chloroquine and just take to stay alive, he was blamed. When he asked that question about disinfectants, I said, look, this disinfectant, is there a way it can be ingested to kill this from within? He said they should take a detergent. I said, no. There was a time in my community where we had like a what do you call it now? A typhoid epidemic in my own community then. It defied all forms of medication because it was recurring. we didn't have safe water to drink. So it was something that you couldn't just treat, because as you're treating it with medications, you are taking the same water that's also polluted. What did the doctor in my community then suggest to us to do? That's this thing called melting. Melting is used to disinfect. It's a disinfectant. It's used to disinfect children utensils. That is spoons. That's what it is actually supposed to be used for. So by the time you wash children utensils, you use melting to kind of rinse them all over.
Yeah.
We are asked to drink melting with water directly into our system.
Whoa.
And we did it. That was what actually saved us that period. That is...
No, but who asked? It depends on who is saying it. You know, there's certain things that it feels like it was a gamble.
This man was looking for a solution, but he was ridiculed. He was going to look like a fool, like a clown. You know the power of the media. You know. The media can make black look like white and white look like black. If they decide to. If you're not regulated American media. You know, Nigerian media is regulated. We have an obligation to balance things. They don't have that obligation there. They can face one direction and only one direction. There's no law that mandates them to balance any opinion. And most of us are exposed to liberal media. So Trump became the villain. He was forced out of power. Now, when Trump resisted and looked like he felt rigged, I understood the sentiment. When everything appears stacked against you about your effort, you want to tell you to think that I shot somebody somewhere is not trying to rig me out. 4 years down the line, Americans have come to appreciate Trump. They compared the economy to the economy that followed. And I realized that, okay, they look at his foreign policy. And on every score, America fared better under Trump than under Biden. The world fared better under Trump than under Biden. Because America is the leader of the world. Trump prevented wars from happening. Therefore, Nigeria, people forget this. And when I see Nigerians that are emotional about maybe racial attachment to the Democratic Party in the USA, I just laugh at them. When Boko Haram started in this country, it was in 2010, effectively. Obama was president of America. Obama and his administration and his school and his liberal professors said that Boko Haram was not a terrorist organization and that Boko Haram is a function of economic problems. They refused to identify it as a terrorist problem. Obama refused to sell arms to Nigeria to fight it.
But isn't that also as a result of a human rights abuse record?
When you have an emergency such as what we had in our hands, it will be very naive for any government to begin to look at the human rights record. So it was Trump, for instance, who became president, that invited our president to the White House. When he visited Trump, before he got his cabinet in place, why didn't he go to America? His first trip to America, he didn't go with his cabinet. I think he was in America as early as August of the year he was elected. And when he got there, Trump agreed and waived that law and so those Tucano jets that actually made the difference in terms of air superiority over Boko Haram. So Donald Trump. He didn't stop there. When Donald Trump saw the situation in the Middle East, particularly in Syria, I realized that he doesn't like Assad. Assad is an enemy of Israel and America. Fine. All this enemy is better than the other enemy that is coming on, which is ISIS and other jihadi groups. If this guy falls, like they did in Libya, Syria will be taken over by these groups of people. So what did he do? He said it is better to have Assad in power than to have this one in power.
In spite of all the horrendous thing Assad was doing back then, even down to using chemical weapons.
And because this people are fighting him, he was trying to fight back. Now, in terms of his use of chemical weapons, Donald Trump carried out a raid on the military facility to decapitate his capabilities from using it. He did that. He bombarded his airspace and reduced his capabilities. What followed that? Because that was the red line. Don't go using this. So he made sure he could no longer use that. But he didn't want him to leave power. So what did he do next? He now collaborated with Russia on ground. Russia was already there to support Assad, their ally. So he collaborated with Russia and they now turned their guns on ISIS. That was why, under his administration, al-Baghdadi of ISIS was taken out. Now, you can ask me, what has this got to do with Nigeria? Don't forget about 2016. ISIS had aligned with Boko Haram, which created ISWAP. So training, logistics, and finance was coming from the Middle East. It was Trump's disorganization of ISIS. As we speak today, ISIS is practically dead in the Middle East.
perhaps not as strong and relevant as they were.
Yeah. As in, it's as if they have been decapitated. That was why the energy, the oxygen that was flowing from the Middle East into our own localized up here ceased. Otherwise, imagine if ISIS was still up and doing in the Middle East and probably have taken Syria. What will happen to Nigeria today? So he gave us to Kano Jet on one hand and also helped us to dissipate the members of this particular splinter group from the Middle East. So what was his impact in our own internal security?
Well, you know what, going by the fact that you had a lot of Muslim American, Arab Americans and people from the Middle East who were rooting for Donald Trump because they felt like the Democrats and Biden's government favored a lot of, things going on in the Middle East with the war.
I think it has to do with the Israeli-Palestinian conflict.
Okay.
The Biden administration was not, just like Obama's administration before it, was not decisive enough on what to do. We didn't see them coming up with a new peace plan, and so that left the stage for continuous settlement expansion in West Bank by Israeli settlers. And of course, October 7 happened, and we have the situation. Now, Donald Trump had already mobilized before he left power the entire Arab world to say, look, you guys are going to recognize Israel as a legitimate state. They said, in principle, we agreed. It was called the Arab Peace Plan. Trump adopted it. I said, okay, Israel, you two be ready to make peace along certain lines. There'll be concessions here and there. They already working, so there was something to work towards. Everybody was waiting with bated breath to say, okay, where are we going to get to in this direction? Until left power and something has happened. On the part of Biden, we didn't see any sure-footed approach towards this resolution of this conflict. Even if it's an unfair approach, let's have something on the table. Yes, Donald Trump annexed Jerusalem and moved American embassy to Israel. Into Jerusalem. Fine. Equity is provocative. Jerusalem is a disputed area. That okay, but at least there is a move towards resolution here and there. Even if you don't like it, you can begin to object to some of the elements of the resolution moves. But on this side, it was blank. There was really no plan. And some people feel that look, it's better to have a devil that you know than an angel that pretends. So that has to do with the Middle East crisis essentially. An average American understands that it's about the economy. And this man is patriotic enough to protect the homeland.
As a matter of fact, migrant situation illegal, that he calls illegal, undocumented migrants, the economy.
Every nation needs a Trump that will put his country first. And in fact, any country you've seen today that has made any form of developmental progress and national security consolidation has a Trump. China has had Trumps consistently throughout their history. Japan has a Trump. Everybody has a Trump who put their country first.
But isn't that a threat to your hold as a hegemon, a world superpower, if you focus so much on self? That nationalist perspective can weaken their hold on the global scene.
Trump is no longer interested in being a hegemony. Now look, we want to survive as a country. Britain focused on being a hegemonic power through the British Empire. It became decadent without them even knowing until it collapsed like a pack of cards. Trump said, look, hey, let's compete.
But then he's also aware of the economic and military threat from China and Russia. So you can't eat your cake and have it at this point in time.
The thing is this. On the part of China is no longer a military threat to anybody. You know why? They're an economic threat. They prioritize economy over military intervention. Now, if you like, go to Taiwan today and hoist American flag. They can make noise, but they will not release one bullet. But Russia still has militaristic ambitions, no doubt, because what's happening in Ukraine. And so the man has said, look, first and foremost, why are we being hostile to Russia? Trump said something about NATO. He said, NATO, number one, America gone.
Perhaps that's what they were saying, that's the end of Ukraine and NATO if Trump comes in.
Said, we are the one that have been shouldering the burden of NATO.
NATO, yeah.
For the Taboto, we don't pay your dues. That's one. Secondly, the Russia that are supposed to protect you against, the trade relationship between Russia and European Union, most of them are in NATO. At the time the Russia-Ukraine war broke out, was $100 billion per annum. So Trump says to them, why are not paying your own dues in NATO to protect you guys? Then the Russia that people are supposed to be protected against, you are emptying $100 billion of your money to them every year in exchange for fossil fuel energy derivatives. So, of what use is NATO then? If people are actually trading with yourself on this large scale, this is a man that thinks, has common sense. Simple. Since traders united all of us, why are we still maintaining this NATO? So if you guys are no longer interested in NATO, you're not contributing your dues, you are only doing that to the man I'm supposed to protect you against. NATO is off NATO, is now obsolete. Do you blame Trump for saying that? So it's a challenge to say, look, let us decide. I mean, I can't spend America's money to maintain your security, but you are the one enriching the man that is you claim is a military threat to you. True.
As a matter of fact, feeling the pulse of a lot of Americans, they are also exhausted with all of that foreign spending, where back home, some people are grappling with homelessness and unemployment and all of that. Like, why would our people be on the street and then you're dealing with supporting people out there and go out there?
Trump said America is not as buoyant as you guys think. So we need to compete favorably in the race for global resources. Just like U.S. nations too. Want to hustle. And I'm saying what Trump will do for the world, as he did before in the first 4 years, will be for Africans particularly to now sit down and begin to develop the homeland. Look, you need to know that America will not always be there to absorb all of us. And for God's sake, why do you want to go and purchase somebody's country at all costs? Why not look inward and develop yours?
The way you put it, Dr. Majeed, like purchase almost come like a nuisance.
They hate from somebody because they say they don't like immigrants. I said, you in your own house in Abuja here and in your village, don't you have gates and analog and key? Can anybody, even your family, can anybody just walk into your house without you inviting the person and properly asking for, okay, what are you going to do? How long are you staying? And when are you going? That is proper documentation. Then when you feel it is convenient for you, that's okay. Come to so day and you're going to leave so day. That is visa now. No be so.
Exactly.
Will you be happy if you come from work one day and you just realize that 2-3 of your cousins from the village skate through the fence and enter the compound and they say, welcome, brother, with their bags and baggages from the village? Will you, even your
uninvited.
Will you be happy? So you must sharing your rice, your bag of rice in the kitchen. Like you manage to pull another this terrible government.
And then for some of them, government have to take up their medicals and all of that because they're already within your world.
Look, we need to control this. If they say America is a country of immigrants, I say no, don't make that mistake. America is a country of legal immigrants. You see, the so-called immigrants you're talking about came to America and built America. And they have consistently allowed for immigration to continue to expand that America that they built. So today, America is a microcosm of the whole world, no doubt. But even that needs to be preserved. Value needs to be added to that. If you today support America to the free entry of everybody, America will be destroyed. America will return back to how it was before the first white man set foot on that continent. So what I think is that America is a legitimate sovereign entity that has the right to buy its own national borders and security. And don't hate Trump for that. It is, to me, there's an entitlement mentality that comes with hating somebody for saying, I don't want you in my country. Why do you want to go there?
I know that aspect is always very, particularly for Africans. It just feels anytime he says we're going to do mass deportation of illegal migrants, we start to feel defensive as if, he's referring to us. I don't even think Africans, Nigerians constitute that land number. He's looking more people who are coming through the from Venezuela, Mexico, and the likes of it, really.
So I don't know why anybody will just sit down and you develop such high BP for somebody else's election. Now, whether Kamala Harris wins or Trump, it will be America first. Forget it. Trump is just not too refined to conceal it. He says as it is. Because he didn't go through the system.
I think that's his biggest sin. No finesse.
And that's an American dream come true as well. That somebody from outside completely can become president. Simple. And you see, this shock therapy is needed once in a while. Somebody who really knows what's at stake to come on board without any pretenses to do the needful. The world, for me, if Trump continues what he did in the first term, Trump is not a threat to any democracy or threat to the world.
They're not invading anybody's country.
I don't understand how can anybody describe Trump as a threat to the world. How did he threaten the world in the first term?
Yeah, I mean, rhetoric's like he's going to be another Hitler.
I don't understand how anybody can believe such a crap. He was friends for 4 good years. How did he Hitlerize you? What did he do? Do you know that in the thick of COVID crisis in America, Trump actually sent Nigerians respirators? And I'm like, wait, people are dying in New York, and you have you sent it to us. In America, for example, there was this criminal law that Trump reformed, which freed up a lot of Americans, black Americans, from jail. It is on record that black Americans prospered the most in 50 years under Trump than any other administration. And he iced that cake by appointing the first African American as the head of the Air Force of the United States of America. So how, I don't know what people call racism. I don't understand.
Well, some people have tried to bring also the gender argument that maybe America is not ready for a woman. Is it just about not being ready for a woman, that the woman in particular and the party and what they represent?
Against the Trump. Trump is solid. Look, Trump has redefined global politics. This is what Trump we're talking about. He has redefined global politics and global thinking.
And Dr. Majeed, speak of him so highly. It feels as if he's not a Trump that we know. Yes, he did certain things, but
I don't think it was.
His record looks impressive as you reel it out, but it wasn't like it was extraordinary.
Look, compared to those who succeeded him, it was extraordinary. He was clear. Look, ask the American on that, and I'm sure they will call him. His economy was buoyant. He understood how to protect American jobs. He's an American president, not a Nigerian president, too. So he judged it based on how did he deliver for his own people.
For his own people, exactly.
Simple. Even if it's against you, you honestly to say, well, for love of his own country, he came to Nigeria and plundered to go and give them. But he didn't even do that to us. I said he helped our national security. You know, Obama failed to do the same thing. Where would Nigeria be today without those two kind of jets? And to prevent us from misusing it, we signed an agreement that, okay, this should not be used outside the theater of war. Obama should have done that for us. He didn't do it. They give us conditions now.
Yeah, not outside the Middle East, the Northeast.
Yes.
I remember the height of it when we're having all of the banditry happening in the Northwest. And he said, no.
We signed an agreement. Okay, fine. Even though I had thought that they would have gone back to South Africa to settle. Banditry has become worse than Boko Haram. Please allow us to use it here. Fine. But what it is, it tells you that they are also concerned about human rights. Okay, don't use it for a purpose.
Yeah.
Don't use it for another, only for... Obama did not care. He didn't look at us. And look at it. Our president has been elected, have been inaugurated since May 29, 2023. This is the longest a Nigerian president has stayed without being invited to the White House since 1999 that I know of. This is the longest.
Well, some people say Biden called the president.
That's true, when he released one of the citizens. This is first, because
the Biden situation.
If the Biden administration takes Nigeria seriously, as an important country in Africa, at least, or in West Africa, that is one of the most consistent allies. By now, I had expected that Biden would have invited our president to the White House to discuss security issues as concerns the Sahel and, of course, the still raging war of Boko Haram.
Well, didn't they talk during the whole West African coup d'etat situation? Let's go on this quick break. We'll take it up from there.